The two girls said, "We'll only stay one night." I asked both of you together. Lightning flashed across the sky, revealing the jagged mountains of the frontier planet below, and the wind rattled the station's outer hull like an angry drum. Inside, the station was calm, or at least as calm as a place full of aliens from across the galaxy could be. Lights flickered from the various consoles, and machines hummed in steady rhythm. The small human engineer, Kale, sat in the maintenance bay, cleaning a set of diagnostic tools. He enjoyed the quiet of nights like this. The silence felt like his own private corner of the universe, even if only for a few hours. Kale had grown used to being the only human in the station. Most species considered humans unusual, fragile, or unpredictable. Some even laughed at the sight of a human trying to understand alien technology. But Kale had long since learned that humor and underestimation were advantages humans could use. Still, the isolation could be lonely. The door to the bay hissed open and Kale looked up, wiping his hands. A pair of figures stood in the doorway, silhouetted by the storm's lightning. At first glance, he thought they were ordinary travelers, two women, both human, standing close together. But there was something different about them. Something in their stance made him pause. "Excuse me," the taller one said, her voice calm but firm. "We need a place to stay for the night, just one night." Kale blinked. Humans were rare enough that he rarely saw them. Two humans together were almost unheard of. He looked at the second woman, who nodded silently. "We'll only stay one night," she repeated, softer this time. Kale raised an eyebrow. "Both of you together?" He couldn't hide the surprise in his voice. It wasn't that he didn't trust them. He had seen humans on holovids before, but seeing two in person in the middle of a storm on a remote station was unexpected. "Yes," the taller one said with a faint smile. "Just tonight." Kale nodded, motioning them inside. The wind howled around the station, shaking the hull again. "You picked a rough night to travel," he said as he guided them toward the guest quarters. "Vera's storms are intense." "They said they can handle it," Kale muttered under his breath. He didn't need to explain why they could. They were human. Humans had a reputation for enduring impossible situations, and surviving on the frontier required more than luck. Kale had learned that the hard way. The guest quarters were small but comfortable. A single hallway branched off into two rooms. Kale showed the women to the nearest one. "Here's your room. It's simple, but it's safe." The taller woman glanced around the room, nodding in approval. "It's fine," she said. The other one lingered near the door, watching the storm. Kale noticed the way they moved, the way they instinctively adjusted to the room's subtle vibrations as the station shuddered. He couldn't quite explain it, but they seemed different, more aware than most humans he had read about in historical records. "I'll leave you to settle in," Kale said, turning toward the door. "Wait," the second woman said. "Will you stay, just for a while?" Kale paused. Humans had a habit of asking unusual things, things that didn't make sense at first. But there was a curiosity in her voice, a trust, and he found himself nodding. "I'll stay, just for a bit." They settled in the small common area outside the guest rooms, where the storm's sound was muffled by reinforced walls. Kale offered them some hot tea from a dispenser, and they accepted, though they didn't speak much. The station's other residents, mostly aliens, gave the newcomers curious glances. A few whispered to one another in low tones, unsure of what to make of humans appearing together. "Why are you here?" Kale finally asked, breaking the silence. It was natural curiosity, not prying. Humans didn't often wander into frontier stations alone, and two together at night during a storm was unusual. "We're travelers," the taller one said simply. "Observing, learning." Kale raised an eyebrow. "Observing what?" The answer came slowly, almost teasingly. "Life," she said. "All forms of it, but mostly how others see us." Kale frowned. That was strange. Humans were rare, yes, but he had never heard of anyone coming to Vera Station just to study reactions. And somehow, The way she said it made him feel like she knew more about the station than she should. "Do you know about this station?" he asked. They exchanged a glance. "We know enough," the second woman said softly. "We know enough to stay safe." Kale tilted his head. There was something about their coordination, small movements, slight gestures that perfectly matched one another. It was subtle, but a trained observer like Kale could notice. Humans working together like this were rare. It was almost instinctual. They were not ordinary travelers. He shook his head lightly and changed the subject. "If you're staying just one night, you probably need to rest. There's a storm outside and the systems can be temperamental." "Yes, rest," the taller one said. She stood, her movements fluid and precise. "But first, may we see the station?" Kale blinked. "Now, in the storm," they smiled almost mischievously. "We'll be careful," the second one said. He hesitated, but something about them made him nod. "All right, just stay close." The storm battered the station's exterior as they moved through the corridors. Aliens glanced curiously at the trio but gave them space. The women moved naturally, observing everything. The humming of the energy conduits, the blinking lights of the control panels, the subtle changes in gravity as the storm shook the station. Kale noticed the way they could detect minor shifts in the environment, something most humans couldn't even perceive. "Impressive," he muttered. "You notice details most species miss." They looked at each other briefly, then at him. "Attention to detail is necessary," the taller one said. Kale laughed softly. "Necessary, yes, but sometimes it's a curse too." They didn't answer, but he felt their understanding. Humans could adapt. Humans could survive. And on a frontier planet like this, that mattered more than anything else. They reached the observation deck, a wide window overlooking the storm-tossed mountains. Lightning lit up the sky and the women stood silently, watching. Kale felt a strange calm in their presence. Humans could be unpredictable, yes, but there was a confidence here, a quiet assurance that they belonged in the universe, no matter how wild it seemed. "You've seen storms like this before?" Kale asked, trying to make conversation. They turned to him, faces unreadable. "Everywhere," the taller one said simply. "Everywhere humans have gone." Kale didn't know how to respond. He had always known humans were resilient, but seeing two of them together, moving in perfect unison, calm, aware, made the usual stories seem small. They weren't fragile. "Not by a long shot." The second woman spoke then, her voice soft. "We'll only stay one night," she repeated, almost as if reassuring herself. "But tonight is important." Kale's curiosity piqued. "Important how?" She didn't answer, only smiled faintly. The storm outside raged on, lightning flashing and thunder rolling. Inside, the quiet presence of two humans felt like a quiet force, something rare, something powerful, something that belonged here even if no one else fully understood it yet. Kale knew one thing for certain. This was no ordinary visit. These two humans had a purpose, and by the time the night ended, the station would never look at humanity the same way again. The storm continued its relentless assault, and Kale led the women back to the guest quarters. As the door hissed shut behind them, he realized he was holding his breath. Humans were rare, yes, but humans together, humans united. That was something the galaxy had yet to see. And tonight, it would begin. Morning arrived slowly on Vera Station. The storm had softened to a drizzle, and the harsh flashes of lightning were now replaced by the pale glow of the planet's twin suns. The station seemed calmer, though the hum of machinery and the occasional rattle of loose panels reminded everyone that the frontier world was still alive and unpredictable. Kale entered the common area with a mug of steaming tea, noticing that the two women had already moved there. Lyra was perched on a bench near the window, looking out at the distant mountains. Sana was closer to the console, her fingers brushing lightly over the control panel as if feeling the station's heartbeat. Both seemed unusually calm, even after the storm. "Morning," Kale said softly, careful not to disturb the quiet aura around them. "Morning," Lyra replied, turning to him with a faint smile. Kale poured himself a cup and sat opposite them. The quiet of the station was almost comforting, a stark contrast to the chaos of the storm. But even in this calm, Kale couldn't shake the feeling that something was different about these two humans. They weren't just travelers, they were observant, attuned. "You move like you know the station," he said, trying to start a conversation. "Even after just a few hours, you seem to notice everything." Sana looked up from the console. "We notice patterns," she said. Her voice was calm but precise. "Everything has a pattern, Kale. Even the smallest details reveal something important." Kale frowned. He had worked here for years. He knew the stations inside and out. But watching them, he realized he had never noticed the tiny tremors of the walls, the rhythm of the air filtration system, or the subtle fluctuations in energy across the station that they pointed out. "Patterns?" he asked, intrigued. "Like what?" Lyra's gaze turned back to the window. "Like how the storm affected the station, how power shifted between rooms, how the alien crew responds to changes, how humans are treated here." She paused, her eyes meeting his. "Observing patterns helps us survive. It's what humans do best." Kale leaned back. That phrase struck him. What humans do best. Most alien species relied on brute strength or advanced technology to solve problems. Humans, he thought, relied on instinct, intelligence, and adaptability. That combination was unusual, even dangerous to underestimate. "Humans," he said slowly, "are rare here, and not many of them are together." "Exactly," Sana said softly. "Together we notice more. We can respond faster. We understand better." Kale's mind turned over her words. There was a strange energy in the way they spoke, a confidence that was not arrogance but quiet certainty. He had read about humans, natural problem-solving skills and adaptability, but seeing it in two people working in harmony was different. It was almost like they shared one mind, but separate. The alien crew began to stir, moving through the corridors with their usual curiosity. Most glanced at the two humans with polite interest, but some couldn't hide their surprise. Seeing two humans together, so aware, so confident, made them uneasy. They whispered among themselves, but no one approached them. Kale noticed the way the two women reacted to the alien presence. It was subtle, but their bodies shifted ever so slightly in response to each glance or movement. Lyra leaned slightly forward, tracking each person's actions. Sana's hands hovered just above the console buttons, ready to act if needed. Humans were not built for physical strength like many aliens, but they had instincts. They noticed small movements, sensed intentions, predicted actions before they happened. Kale felt a growing respect and a hint of awe. "Can I ask something?" he said cautiously. "Why are you here? I mean, why this station?" Lyra and Sana exchanged a glance, a silent communication passing between them. Then Lyra spoke. "We're here to observe," she said simply. "Not just the station, not just the aliens, but humans, their potential, how they adapt, how they influence others, how they survive." Kale blinked. "Humans influencing aliens." "Yes," Sana said softly. "Even one human can change things, two can change more." Humans are unpredictable in ways that technology or training cannot always prepare for. Kale thought about that. Humans had colonized countless worlds, fought wars with limited resources, survived in environments no other species could endure. And yet in the galaxy's eyes, humans were often underestimated. That was changing right now in this station. He realized he was witnessing it firsthand. "Unpredictable," Kale repeated. "I've noticed that." Lyra smiled faintly. "It's why we're valuable. Not in terms of power or numbers, but in terms of adaptability and intuition. That's something the galaxy doesn't fully understand." The conversation was interrupted by a sudden flicker in the lights. Kale's eyes shot toward the console, a minor power fluctuation. The station was old, and storms like last night often caused these shifts, but the two women reacted before he could. Sana's hand hovered over the panel, and with a few quick movements, she stabilized the systems. Lyra's gaze swept the room, noticing small adjustments in pressure and energy flow. Within seconds, the disturbance was gone. Kale stared, astonished. "How did you?" he began. "We notice patterns," Lyra said simply. "We predict outcomes. Humans do this instinctively. Many species cannot." Kale leaned back, realizing how remarkable this was. Two humans alone had stabilized a station in the middle of a storm's aftermath, something most alien engineers would have struggled with for hours. It wasn't strength, it wasn't tech, it was instinct, perception, and coordination. "They make it look easy," Kale murmured. "They make it look easy because they are humans," one of the aliens muttered from across the room, shaking his head in disbelief. Kale caught the comment and smiled inwardly. Humans were underestimated everywhere, but that underestimation was a kind of power. Lyra and Sana returned to their seats, calm as if nothing had happened. Kale realized that the small events of the morning were more than just coincidence, they were demonstration. Subtle, almost invisible lessons in human capability. "Tell me," Kale asked slowly, curiosity burning, "are you part of something, a program?" "A group of humans studying the galaxy," they exchanged a glance. Lyra's eyes softened. "Yes, something like that. We are observers, but not in the way most think. We don't just travel, we test, we show. Humans can do things that others cannot if they are united, aware, and willing." Kale's mind raced. This was bigger than he imagined. Humans were rare. Humans were underestimated. But two working together, intentionally demonstrating skills, it could shift the way the galaxy saw them. The storm outside had ended, but the station's atmosphere felt charged, like the calm after a lightning strike. Kale felt a mix of excitement and awe. Humans were not just survivors. They were adaptable, intelligent, and capable of influencing everything around them. And these two women were living proof. Lyra stood, walking to the observation window again. "Humans are unusual," she said softly. "They survive where others fail. They adapt when others crumble. And when humans work together, their potential is limitless." Kale nodded slowly. He had spent years marveling at human resilience in stories and records, but now he saw it, alive in motion, in two ordinary-seeming women. Ordinary but extraordinary. The day passed with quiet observation. Kale showed them the station's basic systems, walked them past alien living quarters, and let them interact with the crew. Everywhere they went, they noticed details, the way aliens moved, spoke, and reacted. Their observations were subtle but revealing. They weren't just learning, they were demonstrating the human way of seeing and adapting. By the evening, Kale felt a deep respect for them. It wasn't just skill or intelligence. It was intuition, cooperation, and the innate human drive to survive and understand. He realized that the galaxy's fear and underestimation of humans were misplaced. Humans weren't just another species. They were something different. As night fell again, Kale prepared the common area for a quiet dinner. Lyra and Sana joined him, and they ate in companionable silence, occasionally sharing observations about the station. Kale noticed how naturally they coordinated, passing food, adjusting their movements to avoid collisions, reading each other's expressions without words. After the meal, Lyra looked at Kale. "Tomorrow," she said softly, "we may show more, but tonight is for rest. Even humans need rest to stay sharp." Kale nodded, though he knew sleep would be difficult. The presence of these two humans, so aware and so capable, left him restless with curiosity. What else could they do? What more could humans achieve when united and alert? As he finally lay down in his small room, Kale stared at the ceiling. The storm had passed, but a new storm of understanding had begun inside him. Humans were rare, yes, but humans together, humans awake and aware. The galaxy had no idea what was coming. And Kale knew that tomorrow would reveal just a small part of it. The next morning on Vera Station began with a soft hum of machinery. a sharp contrast to the storm that had raged the day before. Kale moved through the hallways, checking the systems and making sure the minor damages from the storm had not caused long-term issues. He was still thinking about Lyra and Sana, the two human travelers whose presence seemed to make everything else fade into the background. They were sitting in the common area, quietly observing the station as it woke. Lyra's eyes followed the movements of the alien crew with precise attention, while Sana lightly tapped the walls and consoles, detecting even the smallest vibrations. Kale couldn't help but notice how their observation skills made ordinary systems feel almost alive. "I think you're enjoying the station more than you let on," Kale said, pouring himself a cup of tea. Lyra turned toward him with a small smile. "It's interesting," she admitted. "Every system has a rhythm, every species has a pattern. You can see how everything interacts if you watch carefully." Sana nodded in agreement. "Patterns tell stories," she added. "Even small ones. You just need to notice them." Kale's respect for them grew. Humans had always been adaptable, but these two demonstrated something more. A combination of observation, intuition, and cooperation that made them almost superhuman in comparison to the station's residents. The calm of the morning was suddenly broken by the station's alert system. A low, continuous tone echoed through the corridors, signaling an approaching threat. Kale's heart raced. Vera Station had defensive protocols, but they were mostly designed to handle minor intrusions, mechanical malfunctions, or small alien conflicts, not coordinated attacks. "Alert," Kale muttered, moving toward the control room. Lyra and Sana followed without hesitation, their movements fluid and unhurried. Through the main viewport, the threat became visible, a small fleet of rogue drones, black and angular, moving in formation. They were unmanned, but their programming indicated intelligence and purpose. They were scanning for living beings and technological resources alike. "The station is at risk," Kale said. "I need to activate defenses." "Do you want help?" Lyra asked, her tone calm. Kale hesitated. Humans were strong, yes, but the station's defense systems were designed for trained personnel. "It's complicated," he said. "You might not." "Just tell us what to do," Sana interrupted. "We'll follow." Kale felt a mixture of awe and relief. These women were human, yet their confidence and trust were unwavering. He quickly began guiding them. "First, we need to secure the energy shields and stabilize the main console. That will slow them down." Together, they moved like a well-practiced team. Kale directed them to various panels and controls, but Lyra and Sana's instincts allowed them to anticipate the system's quirks. Where Kale hesitated, they acted decisively, pushing the station's technology to its limits without overloading it. The drones approached faster than expected. Their sensors scanned aggressively, seeking life forms and weak points in the station's structure. Alien crew members watched nervously from their stations, unsure how to respond. Kale saw the panic rising, but the two humans remained calm. Lyra's eyes swept the control panels, calculating outcomes faster than any computer algorithm could process. Sana's hands moved over the panels with precision, rerouting power to the shields, reinforcing critical points, and diverting excess energy away from vulnerable systems. "Faster," Kale urged himself silently, inspired by their efficiency. Within minutes, the station's shields were fully operational. The drones approached, firing low-energy scanning beams, but they were repelled harmlessly by the human-guided systems. Kale watched in astonishment as Lyra and Sana adjusted the defense protocols in real time, predicting the drones' movements and adapting before the machines could. "They're not just reacting," Kale realized aloud. "They're anticipating." "Exactly," Sana said softly. "That's what humans do best. We adapt, we predict, we survive." The alien crew began to murmur among themselves, some visibly impressed, others uneasy. Humans had always been underestimated. Now, two humans were holding the station together with nothing but their minds, their instincts, and their cooperation. One of the drones suddenly changed course, attempting to breach the eastern corridor. Kale froze for a moment, but Lyra's hand shot out, pressing a sequence of commands faster than Kale thought possible. The drone's path was intercepted, its sensors scrambled, and it drifted harmlessly into space. Sana moved to the main console, her eyes scanning data streams, her fingers flying over controls. Within seconds, she redirected energy from redundant systems, creating a temporary energy pulse that disoriented the remaining drones. Kale could hardly keep up with their speed. "This is incredible," Kale whispered. "It's what humans do," Lyra said, her voice calm. "We notice, we adapt, we act, and when we work together we can do more than anyone expects." The last of the rogue drones paused as if recalculating. Then one by one they disengaged and retreated into space, unable to breach the station's defenses. The alert system silenced, leaving a stunned silence in the station. Kale sank into a chair, breathing heavily. His mind was racing. "You did it, both of you. You stopped them. You saved the station." Lyra and Sana exchanged a glance, their expressions calm but satisfied. "It wasn't about saving the station," Sana said softly. "It was about showing that humans can adapt, can overcome, can succeed even when others fail. We didn't just survive. We proved something." Kale's respect turned to awe. He had read stories about human adaptability and ingenuity, but witnessing it firsthand, seeing it in two humans working perfectly together, was unlike anything he had imagined. The alien crew slowly began to recover from the shock. Some approached the control panels to inspect what had happened. Their systems showed subtle modifications, adjustments that had saved the station, traces of human intuition embedded in the programming. "You changed the systems," one alien muttered, clearly impressed. "We adapted them," Lyra said simply. "Humans do that." Kale felt a surge of pride for his species. For too long, humans had been underestimated. But here, in the middle of a frontier station under pressure and threat, they had proven their worth. They had done what others could not, without brute force, without advanced alien technology, simply through observation, instinct, and cooperation. As the adrenaline of the morning faded, Kale realized something important. Humans were not just survivors. Humans were innovators, problem solvers, and leaders in their own way. And when they worked together, their potential was limitless. After the threat had passed, Kale walked with the two women through the corridors, checking the systems they had stabilized. The station was intact and the alien crew was slowly returning to normal operations, though many still glanced at the humans with new respect and a hint of caution. "You're not like anyone else here," Kale said quietly. "You really are different." "We are human," Lyra replied, her voice calm but firm. "Different, yes, but not in the way you think. Humans can survive, humans can adapt, that's all. And when humans work together, the results are extraordinary." Sana nodded. "The galaxy doesn't understand us yet." "But it will." Kale realized the truth in her words. Humans were underestimated, overlooked, dismissed. But they had something unique, the ability to survive, to adapt, and to influence situations in ways no other species could predict. Two humans together could change outcomes, inspire others, and defy expectations. As the day drew to a close, Kale found himself thinking about the storm, the drones, and the humans' calm, precise actions. He felt a deep admiration and a quiet hope. If even a few humans could act like Lyra and Sana, the future of humanity in the galaxy was brighter than he had ever imagined. The two women returned to their guest quarters as if nothing had happened. Kale followed, still in awe. They had come as travelers, and yet they had left a mark on the entire station. He knew the aliens would talk about this day for years, and it would be a small but significant example of humanity's hidden potential. As Kale lay down that night, he stared at the ceiling and thought about what he had witnessed. Humans were not just survivors. They were pioneers, adapters, and innovators. And when humans worked together, as Lyra and Sana had, they could achieve the impossible. The storm outside had passed completely, leaving a quiet night on Vera Station. But inside Kale's mind, a new storm was building. A storm of realization, respect, and awe for the human potential that had just been revealed. And he knew, deep down, that this was only the beginning. The next morning, Vera Station woke to a quiet hum of machinery and soft sunlight spilling across its metallic corridors. The storm had passed entirely, leaving only the distant shimmer of clouds rolling across the planet's surface. Kale moved through the station with a sense of anticipation. After witnessing Lyra and Sana's abilities the day before, he felt a mix of awe, curiosity, and a lingering question. Why were they here? The two women sat at the common area, quietly observing the alien crew as they repaired minor damages from the storm and organized the station's systems. Lyra's eyes scanned each corner of the room with sharp attention, while Sana's hands lightly traced the edges of consoles and walls, checking for imperfections in the structure. Kale realized that they didn't just notice details, they understood them. Their awareness was subtle, almost instinctual but incredibly precise. "Good morning," Kale said as he approached, carrying a cup of tea for himself. "Morning," Lyra replied, her calm expression betraying nothing of the excitement that Kale felt inside. Kale poured himself a cup, thinking about how to approach the subject that had been on his mind since the previous day. You did more than just help yesterday," he said carefully. "You showed the station and its crew what humans can do. But why? Why come here?" Sana looked up from a console, her fingers hovering over the keys. "You've seen it," she said softly. "Humans are underestimated. People think we're fragile, slow, or unprepared, but we're not even close." Kale nodded. "I know humans can survive, I've read about them. But seeing it's different. Two humans together and you manage the entire station. The drones, the systems, everything. It was extraordinary," Lyra finished for him, a small smile forming on her lips. Kale laughed softly. "Yes, exactly that." Lyra gestured for him to sit. "We didn't come here to prove a point to you," she said. "We came to observe, yes, but also to reveal something important, something the galaxy doesn't fully understand." Kale leaned forward, intrigued. "What is it?" Sana's eyes met his. "Humans have a unique potential, not just to survive, but to influence, to adapt, to innovate. The galaxy has underestimated this for too long. Our presence here is part of a program designed to demonstrate that humans, even in small numbers, can make a difference." Kale felt a chill run down his spine. This wasn't just a visit, this was a mission. "Program?" he asked, confused. "Like a human project?" "Yes," Lyra said. "Humans are rare across the stars. Many species have dismissed them as weak, insignificant. But humans possess something unusual. Intuition, creativity, and adaptability combined in ways that other species cannot replicate. Even small groups of humans can influence systems, ideas, and outcomes far beyond what anyone expects." Kale thought about the events of the past day. The storm, the rogue drones, the way the two women had worked in perfect harmony. He realized that they were demonstrating this very potential. "So, this is a test?" he asked slowly. "Not a test," Sana replied. "More of a demonstration. We're here to show what humans can do quietly, subtly, without anyone realizing the full scope at first. The station, the crew, even you, they've seen humans in action, but they don't fully understand yet. That is the point." Kale's mind raced. Humans were rarely seen in the galaxy, and even when they were, most alien species treated them as curiosities. But Lyra and Sana had changed that perception in less than a day. Their abilities, coordination, and calm confidence had left the entire station in awe. "You're saying humans can really make a difference?" Kale asked, still in disbelief. Lyra nodded. "Not just can, humans will. The galaxy is changing, Kale, and humans are part of that change. You may not see it yet, but it's happening. Kale felt a surge of pride. He had always known humans were capable, but hearing it directly from other humans who had demonstrated it so clearly was overwhelming. And you're showing this by being here together. Yes, Sana said, her voice calm but firm. Together, humans amplify their abilities. We notice more, adapt faster, and can respond to situations in ways others cannot predict. Alone, a human can achieve much. Together, humans can achieve the extraordinary. Kale leaned back in his chair, letting the words sink in. The realization struck him hard. Humans weren't just survivors or explorers. They were innovators, pioneers, and perhaps even leaders in their own unique way. The galaxy had underestimated them, and these two women were proving it quietly, yet powerfully. The station, yesterday, what we saw, Kale said slowly, was a demonstration of human potential. Yes, Lyra confirmed. You observed, you participated, but you didn't fully understand. That's intentional. Humans are often underestimated precisely because other species fail to see the full picture. That makes our actions even more impactful when they are revealed subtly. Kale nodded slowly. He understood now why the alien crew had reacted with awe and cautious respect. Humans were unpredictable, adaptable, and capable of influencing outcomes in ways no one anticipated. Even a small group of humans could change perceptions, systems, and events across the galaxy. Sana leaned forward slightly. Humans have a quality that others do not: curiosity combined with resilience. We explore, we adapt, we survive. And when humans act together, our potential multiplies. Kale thought about their synchronized actions the day before, stabilizing the station, rerouting energy, and anticipating the rogue drone's moves. Their cooperation was instinctive, precise, and incredibly effective. They didn't just act, they predicted, adapted, and responded in perfect harmony. You're saying this is natural for humans? Kale asked. Not training, not technology, just humans being humans. Yes, Lyra said softly. Humans are designed to adapt, to survive, to innovate. Technology helps, knowledge helps, but at the core, it is human instinct, observation, and cooperation that make the difference. That's why the galaxy underestimates humans. They don't see what's inside us. Kale felt a mixture of pride and awe. All his life, humans had been described as fragile, unpredictable, or reckless. But seeing Lyra and Sana in action, seeing their calm, intuitive coordination, he realized the truth. Humans were extraordinary. The galaxy will notice eventually, Kale said quietly. Humans won't be underestimated forever. They will, Sana agreed, and it will be because humans act, adapt, and unite in ways others cannot predict. That is our strength. That is our gift. Kale sat in silence, letting the words sink in. The weight of their revelation was enormous, but also inspiring. Humans had potential that no other species could fully understand, and this potential could change the course of events across the stars. Lyra stood and walked to the observation window, looking out at the planet below. Kale, she said softly, you've seen only a small part of what humans can do, but even this small part is enough to change perceptions. You now know that humans are more than survivors. We are innovators, problem solvers, and when united, a force that the galaxy cannot ignore. Kale felt a surge of determination. I understand, and I will remember. I will make sure others see it too. Sana smiled faintly. Good. That is part of our purpose, to inspire, to reveal, to demonstrate what humans can do. One day, humans will spread further, explore further, and the galaxy will have no choice but to recognize our potential. The day continued in quiet observation. Lyra and Sana guided Kale through subtle lessons: how to notice patterns in systems, how to anticipate problems before they occurred, and how humans could influence outcomes through cooperation and careful observation. Each demonstration was small, almost imperceptible, yet profoundly revealing. Kale realized that these lessons were not just about the station or surviving storms. They were about understanding humanity itself, its strengths, instincts, and hidden potential. And in that understanding, Kale felt a deep pride for his species. As night fell, Kale prepared for bed, reflecting on the day's revelations. Humans were underestimated, yes, but they were capable of extraordinary things. Lyra and Sana had shown him a glimpse of that potential, and he knew that the galaxy would never be the same once humans acted together, aware and united. The two women returned to their quarters quietly, leaving Kale to his thoughts. He stared at the ceiling, thinking about what he had learned. Humans were not just survivors, explorers, or engineers. They were innovators, adapters, and when united, a force that could shape the galaxy itself. And Kale knew that the full potential of humans was only beginning to be revealed. Tomorrow, he thought, would show even more. Morning light spilled over Vera Station, painting the metallic corridors with soft golden hues. The twin suns of the frontier planet glimmered through the observation windows, casting long shadows across the station's floors. For Kale, the morning felt unusually quiet. Not silent, exactly, but charged with a sense of anticipation he could not fully explain. He walked toward the common area, a mug of hot tea in his hands, and found Lyra and Sana already seated there. They were calm, their posture relaxed yet precise, as if they were always in tune with their surroundings. Kale felt a pang of admiration and curiosity. After all the events of the last 2 days, the storm, the rogue drones, the quiet but powerful demonstrations of human capability, he knew this morning would mark the end of something remarkable. "Good morning," Kale said, trying to sound casual though his heart raced with an unspoken tension. "Good morning," Lyra replied, smiling faintly. "Are you ready for today?" Kale frowned slightly. "Ready? For what?" Sana's eyes met his. "For your final lesson," she said softly. "Not just for the station or for the crew, but for you, for understanding the full potential of humans when they work together." Kale took a deep breath. Over the last 2 days, he had witnessed things that few other humans or aliens could imagine. Lyra and Sana had shown him that humans were adaptable, intuitive, and capable of influencing outcomes in ways other species could not. But he realized that today, he would see the culmination, the full demonstration. The three of them walked through the station together. The alien crew watched in quiet anticipation, having heard whispers of the humans' actions over the past 2 days. Some were still recovering from the awe of the previous day, and others were curious to see if the stories of Lyra and Sana were true. Kale led them to the main control room. "There's one thing left to do," he said quietly. "I want to show you something." "What is it?" Lyra asked, tilting her head slightly. Kale gestured toward the station's map of the frontier planet. "This station sits at a junction of several exploration routes. Some are dangerous, others unpredictable. I've been mapping patterns for months, but I can never anticipate everything. Maybe you can help." Lyra and Sana exchanged a glance. Without a word, they moved toward the consoles, their movements fluid and precise. Kale watched in fascination as their coordinated gestures began to reorganize data streams, predict anomalies, and even identify minor issues he had not noticed. The alien crew murmured among themselves, some clearly impressed, others skeptical. "This is incredible," Kale whispered. "You're predicting things I didn't even know existed." Lyra looked at him calmly. "Observation, intuition, cooperation, that's what humans do. We notice patterns, anticipate outcomes, and adapt. Alone, humans can do much. Together, we can do extraordinary things." Sana smiled faintly. "The galaxy may underestimate humans, but humans underestimate themselves at their peril. Potential is always greater than perception." Kale nodded slowly, absorbing the lesson. It was more than skill or knowledge. It was instinct, awareness, and the ability to act decisively in harmony with another human. The realization filled him with pride. Humans were rare across the stars, but even a small group could change outcomes, influence others, and leave a lasting mark. After the demonstration, the station's systems ran smoother than ever. Minor malfunctions that had been persistent for months were resolved, anomalies predicted and prevented, and the alien crew marveled at the subtle improvements. Kale realized that Lyra and Sana had not just acted, they had elevated the station itself. The day passed quietly, but with a charged energy in the air. Kale spent time walking with the two humans, asking questions about their travels, their purpose, and their understanding of human potential. They answered softly, but each word carried weight, as if teaching him lessons beyond the immediate situation. "You're leaving today," Kale said eventually, as the sun dipped toward the horizon. "And the station, it will miss you." Lyra smiled faintly. "We've already left a mark," she said, "not just on the station but on its people. And you, Kale, have learned what humans can do when they act together. That is our gift. That is our purpose." Kale felt a lump in his throat. He had witnessed human potential firsthand, their adaptability, intuition, and cooperative power. And now, knowing they would leave soon, he realized how rare this experience had been. "Will you return?" he asked quietly. Sana shook her head. "Our paths are elsewhere." "But the lessons remain. Humans everywhere will continue to act, adapt, and influence. You don't need us to show it again. You've seen it for yourself." The station's alarm system chimed softly, signaling the approaching transport shuttle. Outside, the twin suns reflected off its metallic hull, casting a golden glow on the landing pad. The alien crew paused their activities, watching as the shuttle doors opened. Kale walked with Lyra and Sana to the airlock. The cold wind from outside brushed against his face, carrying with it the scent of the frontier planet, metal, ozone, and distant flora. He looked at them, truly seeing them as humans, yet unlike any humans he had ever known. "Goodbye, Kale," Lyra said softly. "Remember what you've seen. Humans are not just survivors. We are innovators, adapters, and a force for change when we unite." Sana added, "The galaxy may doubt, underestimate, or ignore humans, but that does not diminish our potential. It only makes our actions more powerful." Kale nodded, swallowing hard. "I won't forget, I promise." They stepped into the shuttle, moving with the same grace and coordination that had impressed him so deeply. The doors closed behind them, and within moments the shuttle rose into the sky, leaving a shimmering trail of light. Kale watched until it disappeared into the stars. The station felt quieter after their departure. The alien crew moved about, resuming their routines, but the atmosphere had shifted. Conversations now included whispers of humans' abilities, and some crew members were inspired to reconsider their assumptions. Humans, even a small number, could make a difference. They could act in ways no other species could anticipate. Kale walked through the station alone, reflecting on the events of the last 3 days. Lyra and Sana had come as travelers, but they left as teachers. They had shown him what humans were capable of, not through grand battles or displays of power, but through observation, intuition, and cooperation. Sitting at the observation window, Kale gazed at the planet below, now bathed in the warm light of the setting sun. The mountains, rivers, and distant cities seemed alive, as if the station itself had absorbed the lessons the two humans had left behind. He thought about the future, the paths humans would take, the places they would go, and the challenges they would face. The galaxy might underestimate them, but Kale knew better. Humans were adaptable, intelligent, and capable of influencing the universe in ways that no one could fully predict. And when humans acted together, as Lyra and Sana had, their potential was limitless. Kale realized something important. He had witnessed not just two humans, but a vision of humanity itself, a species capable of greatness, of innovation, and of leaving a lasting mark on the stars. He returned to his quarters, but sleep was impossible. His mind was alive with thoughts of possibilities, of the paths humanity could take, and of the future the galaxy would have to face. The storm had passed, the drones were gone, and the humans had left. But their impact remained, woven into the station itself and into Kale's understanding of what it meant to be human. That night, as Kale lay in his bed staring at the ceiling, he made a silent promise to himself. He would carry the lessons of Lyra and Sana forward. He would show others the potential of humanity, and he would ensure that no human, no matter how far from home, would ever be underestimated again. Outside, the stars shone brightly over Vera Station. Somewhere among them, the shuttle carrying Lyra and Sana sailed toward new worlds and new lessons. And somewhere below, Kale remained, inspired and determined, knowing that humans had left an indelible mark on the galaxy. The station was quiet, but the universe had already begun to notice. Humans were rare, yes, but humans united, aware, and adaptable were unstoppable, and that was only the beginning.